Good morning, everybody. So, welcome all of you in online classes conducting by St. Paul's School. So, first of all, I'm welcoming you all in ninth class science classes. And students, as you know that in our previous video we have started chapter 5, that is the fundamental unit of life, and this chapter is from your biology portion. So students, in previous video we have discussed about the discovery of cell, shape and size of the cell, function of the cells, and today we are going to take a topic, plasma membrane. We know that cell is organized by three main components, that is plasma membrane or cell membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm. So today we are going to discuss about plasma membrane or cell membrane. So students, this is the outermost living, thin and delicate covering of the cell. It separates the contents of the cell from its external environment. It is a semi-permeable membrane. It is flexible and is made up of liquid and protein microscopic. So, this is the outermost living, thin and delicate covering of the cell, and it separates the cell from its external environment. And presence of lipids as phospholipids and protein provide flexibility to the plasma membrane, and it enables cell to engulf food and other materials from external environment. This process is called endocytosis, and amoeba acquires food through this process with the help of finger-like projections called pseudopodia. So now we'll discuss about the function of the plasma membrane. So this is the diagram of plasma membrane. You can see the composition of plasma membrane, structural organization of the plasma membrane. So plasma membrane allow the entry and exit of some selective material in and out of the cell. The cell membrane therefore act as a semi-permeable, selectively permeable, partially permeable or differentially permeable membrane. It helps to maintain the shape of the cell. It acts as a mechanical barrier and protects the internal contents of the cell from leaking out. It provides protection against microbes and foreign substances. It gets modified to perform different functions. For example, microvilli in intestine of human beings for absorption, and its semi-permeability enables to the cell to maintain cellular homeostasis. Amongst all the functions listed above, the transport of substances is the most important function. So, it allows the entry and exit of some selective material in and out of the cell. So, that's why this is known as semi-permeable or selectively permeable membrane. Now, how does the movement of substances take place into the cell, and how do substances move out of the cell? Some substances like carbon dioxide or oxygen can move across the cell membrane by process of diffusion. In earlier chapter, we saw that there is a spontaneous movement of substance from a region of high concentration to region where its concentration is low. So something similar to the happen in the cells when, for example, some substances like CO2 exerted inside the cell. In the cell external environment, the concentration of CO2 is low as compared to the inside, the concentration of CO2 inside and outside the cell. So CO2 move out of the cell from a region of high concentration of the cell, from the region of high concentration to the region of low concentration outside the cell by the process of diffusion. So basically, what is diffusion? The movement of substance from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration, it is called diffusion. It plays as important role in gaseous exchange between the cell as well as the cell and its external environment. When the level of oxygen inside a cell decreases, oxygen from the external environment of the cell enter by the process of diffusion. You can see the diffusion, and you can see the molecules are moving from their high concentration to their low concentration. Now another process is osmosis. Something similar to that happens in the cell when, for example, we have done the example of CO2. CO2 moves from their higher concentration to low concentration, that is called diffusion. So osmosis is also a special type of diffusion, we can say. The movement of water molecules through a selective permeable membrane along the concentration gradient is called osmosis. The movement of water across the plasma membrane is also affected by the amount of substance dissolved in the water. So osmosis is thus also defined as the movement of water molecules from a region of its high concentration to the region of lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. And in unicellular freshwater organism and the most plant cells tends to gain water through osmosis. So osmosis is the passage of water from a region of high water concentration to a region of low concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. A membrane which permits the entry and exit of some material in the cell is called semi-permeable membrane. It also prevents movement of some materials. So absorption of water by plant root is also an example of osmosis. The process of osmosis can be seen in cell placed in a solution of different concentration, such as a hypotonic solution, isotonic solution and hypertonic solution. So if cell is placed in a medium which has higher water concentration and lower solute concentration, that is the outside solution is dilute, cell will again water by osmosis and swell up. Such solution is called hypotonic solution. So the medium or solution surrounding the cell has a high water concentration as compared to inside of the cell. So the cell will gain water and swell up, that is called endoosmosis. And this happens because the water molecules are free to pass through the cell membrane in both directions. So most water however enter the cell than that leaving it. If a cell is placed in a medium which has lower water concentration than cell sep, that is hypotonic, then the cell will gain water. This is called osmosis. When cells are kept in a solution more concentrated than cell sep, hypertonic, that is they started shrinking as water comes out, this is called exosmosis. So the medium surrounding a cell has a lower concentration of water than the cell. Then water crosses the cell membrane in both directions, but this time more water leaves the cell than enter it. As a result, the cell protoplasm gets shrunk, that is called exosmosis. If the water concentration outside the cell is similar to inside the cell, it is called as isotonic solution. So no net movement of water take place in such condition. So the medium surrounding a cell has same concentration of water as the present inside the cell. Water crosses the cell membrane in both directions, but the amount moving in remains the same as the amount moving out. So there is no overall movement of water. As a result, no overall change is observed and the cell size remains the same. So this is all about the movement of water through the cell membrane. Now we'll discuss various shapes of cell, that is various cell organelles. Cells are found in various shapes such as round shape, spherical shape, oval shape, spindle shape, branch shape that we have discussed already. So now we'll discuss the component that are present in the cell. So the component that are present in the cell, or we can say in the cytoplasm, are called cell organelles. So now we'll discuss the most important cell organelle, that is nucleus. It is a very important organelle of the cell as it regulates all the activities of the cell. It is called as a brain of the cell because it controls all the metabolic activities of the cell. It is composed of double layered covering called nuclear membrane. It has numerous pores called nuclear pores. They transfer the material from inside the nucleus to cytoplasm. The nucleus contains a round shaped structure that is called nucleolus. It is a part of nucleus and it is known as a factory of ribosome also, and it helps in protein synthesis of the body. So nucleolus is more or less round structure found inside the nucleus. It does not have covering of membranes and it is known as a factory of ribosome. The nucleus contains chromatin material. Chromatin is a entangled network of long thread-like structure. It condenses to form chromosomes during cell division. So chromosomes are the vehicle of genes. Genes are carried by chromosomes and genes express our characteristics such as intelligence, complexion, height, etc. So genes carry, we can say that genes transfer the characteristics from parents to their offspring. Chromosomes contain information for inheritance of the features from parent to next generation in the form of DNA. And chromosomes are composed of DNA and protein. The DNA molecules contain information necessary for constructing and organizing cell. The functional segment of DNA are called genes. This is the structure of chromosome and the thread-like structure that is known as a chromatin material. So during the cell division they condense and they turn into the chromosome, and this is the structure of chromosome. Chromosomes are made up of DNA and protein, and the functional unit of the DNA, or we can say functional segment of DNA, is called genes, and genes carry the characteristics from the parents to their offspring. And nucleus also contain RNA that direct protein synthesis. In some organisms like bacteria, the nuclear region of the cell is poorly defined because of the absence of nuclear membrane. So the nuclear region in these organisms contain only nucleic acid. Such an undefined nuclear region is called nucleoid. Now we'll discuss the function of nucleus. So nucleus plays an important role in cellular reproduction. In this process, a cell divides to form two new cells. It determines the cell development and maturity by directing the chemical activities of the cell. It helps in the transmission of hereditary traits from parents to offspring. It controls all metabolic activities of the cell. If it is removed, the protoplasm dry up. So this is all about the function of nucleus, and that's why nucleus is important. Now we'll discuss the another cell organelle, that is mitochondria. And student, this is the structure of mitochondria, and mitochondria is known as a powerhouse of the cell. This is structure of mitochondria. And students, here I want to tell you that mitochondria were first observed by Colliker in 1880, and it is a double membrane bounded cell organelle. As nucleus is also double layered membrane cell organelle, it is also double membrane bounded cell organelle, and the outer membrane is porous and the inner membrane is deeply folded, as you can see in this figure, and finger like projections called cristae it creates large surface area for ATP generating chemical reaction, and space between outer and inner membrane is called intermembrane space. Mitochondrion is a self-replicating organelle. It is the largest organelle in the animal cell. So mitochondria is known as a powerhouse of the cell as it helps in the production of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Mitochondria have two membrane covering in which outer membrane is porous in nature while the inner membrane is deeply folded, and it is a double membrane structure, outer membrane porous and inner membrane deeply folded to create large surface area for ATP generation, chemical reaction, and ATP is known as the energy currency. So that's why mitochondria is known as a powerhouse of the cell. It generates energy for various activities of the cell. Mitochondria are the site of cellular respiration. They release energy required by the cell in the form of ATP. That's why ATP is known as an energy currency of the cell. So whenever the cell requires energy, ATP molecule breaks down. It generates energy to be used for metabolic activities of the body. Mitochondria are strange organelle in the sense that they have their own DNA and ribosome. Hence, they are able to make some of their own protein. So this is all about the mitochondria. So students, in this video, we'll study this much. Thank you everyone.